Linda McMahon believes that Holocaust denial is a credible, diverse viewpoint. Here it is.
Do you think that Holocaust education in our schools is a DEI program? There's no card for that. That's just yes or no.
I can look at it, whatever card.
Holocaust education, is it a DEI? You can have a press conference to say whatever you want. I just need a quick answer to this.
Your soliloquy
is Holocaust, because this is my time, is Holocaust education a DEI program?
No.
Is African American Studies a DEI program?
I think I answered that with one.
I'm asking it again.
Listen, we should
just yes or no.
We should be able to teach courses.
My point is they are DEI programs, both of them, because students need diversity, equity, and inclusion to understand their environments. So both Holocaust education and the teaching of African American history are important, which is why the state of Connecticut requires it in our social studies curriculum. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You can't support one without supporting the other.
Does refusing to hire a Holocaust denier as a member of Harvard's history department faculty count as an ideological litmus test?
I believe that there should be diversity of viewpoints relative to teachings and opinions on campuses.
That diverse viewpoints. The same people who denied the election, the same people told Trump, hey, it wasn't stolen, Trump. You lost. Same people. The same people who say racism doesn't exist. Same people say actually the only racism that exists are against primarily white men, are the same individuals who have a diverse viewpoint as it relates to facts. Now, right on cue, here comes CNN's resident dumbass, Trump apologist Scott Jennings, to defend McMahon's comments. Here it is.
A diversity of viewpoints about Holocaust denying?
That's not what she said. That's not what she said. That's not at all what just happened there.
Hold on.
She's saying that college faculty are uniformly partisan, liberal, progressive, radicals.
All right.
She was not answering what is a patently ridiculous question. And no Republican should take any lectures about anti-Semitism right now from Democrats.
There's no card in front of her to tell her the answer. And this is what happens when you have somebody who lied about having an education degree. They didn't teach about the Holocaust maybe when she was getting her French degree. If she actually has that. The reality is,
you're accusing her of being a Holocaust?
No. Is any school allowed to say that these are facts, and if you don't believe in facts, you cannot teach here? Are they allowed to do that?
The question is, what is the litmus test today? And what kind of faculty do you want? Do you want people who all have the same views or a diversity of views?
When you answer my question with a question, you are dodging.
When you ask me questions that I think kind of ridiculous framing of this issue, then I think you're misconstruing the issue. How is it a ridiculous framing?
I don't see how she works for that clown every day. Now, the question is simple, okay? If anywhere in the world, employment of that agency should depend on your healthy understanding of what is a fact and what is fiction, I would classify a higher educational institution is among the top. And you're telling me that you would be in violation of discriminatory actions if you told someone applying for a professor job, you can't get this job because you deny facts of history as if they are debatable. All of a sudden, now the person in trouble is the individual who has said that, which is common sense, at an educational institution, if this becomes norm. It's ridiculous for what has become or is attempting to become qualified discrimination. Now, Richey Colbert, who will be on the program, she'll be on Indisputable in a few days, and Abby Phillip took Scott Jennings to task, obviously, and rightfully so, for defending this surreal answer during a recent hearing. Colbert pointed out that McMahon's ignorance about history, despite overseeing the Department of Education. For example, during that same hearing, Representative Summer Lee asked McMahon about pivotal events in Black history. Here's what happened.
Your thoughts on simple yes or no, if this is a legal DEI, an example, would you say that it would be an illegal DEI for a lesson plan on the Tulsa race massacre?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Do you know what the Tulsa race massacre is?
I'd like to look into it more and get back to you on it.
Okay, so I look forward to that. How about the book Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, for instance?
I haven't read that.
Have you learned about Ruby Bridges?
If you have specific examples you'd like
that was a specific example.
I'll be very happy.
It was an incredibly specific example.
I named the specific your questions, and I will look into it and get back to you.
You see, if you were an actual student of education or policy expert in education or teacher involved in the national aspect of education, you would be informed and actually have diverse viewpoints because you know diverse views. But you're not. You're not informed. You're not interested. You are not trying to become the actual active Department of Education head. You are simply there to dismantle it. Why? Because that's what Trump said. Your job is to destroy it. Why would you spend any time studying? Why would you spend any time researching and trying to live up to the sanctity of that position rather than shrink it to fit you? Why would you do that? Because you know what you're there for. You are there to destroy it. Representative Summer Lee slammed the Trump administration's DEI, anti-DEI agenda and its impact on public education, strikingly comparing it to the racist era of Jim Crow. Quote, when you call for removing of equity and inclusion and diversity and accessibility from schools in favor of, quote, traditional American values, it's indistinguishable from post-Civil War South advocating to rewrite history when the lost cause narrative and to censor truths about slavery, said Lee, quote, this department's financial aid policies harken back to a time when higher education was reserved for affluent, well-connected, and predominantly white students, end quote. In a statement to the Griot, Lee said, quote, it's pretty telling and deeply troubling that this administration is more focused on chasing down pride flags and banning books than addressing any of the actual crisis facing our public education system, end quote. Even if Secretary McMahon was better versed in American history, there is no doubt her department would further attempt to whitewash history and ensure students don't have access to the facts. Lee told the Griot that the Trump administration's, quote, lack of knowledge, denial of history, and open racism, end quote, doesn't mean students across the country should be deprived of learning opportunities or access to a quality education. She added, clearly, they're still needed, and clearly they are. Now, we can wax poetic about the Trump administration's violation of standing policy, violation of really the consciousness of those that are good faith human beings, but also understand the other context. It puts the emphasis on us to properly educate our children and other children, the children we mentor, on true historical education as it relates to this nation and to this era. And that's it. We just have to do more ourselves. And at some point, I do believe in a great restoration that would take place, and that restoration will be led by you. All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
Well, it should, come to absolutely nobody's surprise that Linda McMahon doesn't know the answer to any of these, because at the end of the day, the reason that she's the head of the Department of Education is because she donated $20 million to Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. That's how much she gave. That's why she's there. I mean, and let alone Linda McMahon. You got Howard Lutnick, who's the head of the Department of Commerce. And if you remember him, he was on the news, I think a couple months ago, talking about Social Security. Now, if my mom missed a Social Security check, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, well, you're a billionaire, so congratulations. You got Dr. Oz. You got RFK Jr. You got Scott Bessent, who's the head of the department, or the Secretary of the Treasury, rather. And he's just some billionaire, former head of a hedge fund. So all of these people are unqualified. And this is nothing new, but this administration, Trump's second administration, is far more corrupt and far more unhinged than the first one. So again, that's the only reason why she's there. And then the whole notion that, well, we want multiple viewpoints. Your viewpoint can be totally incorrect. So what good is it if it's wrong, especially when it's at that level? When this information is spreading from the head down and this is what people are taking as the truth, your viewpoint doesn't matter if it's false. So who cares? And also, at the end of the day, these people are just blatantly racist. So anything that has anything to do with Black history, they don't want to acknowledge it. And the reason why Linda McMahon, of course, said that Holocaust, that section is DEI, but not Black history, or rather that's not DEI, but anything to do with Black is DEI. It's because the Holocaust victims were white. They were white Europeans, Polish people, and stuff like that. So that's really the distinction. It's really as simple as that. But $20 million will get you the head of any department in this country, and never forget that that's why she's where she is.
That's right. And all of them believe in DEI. I see them supporting Israel. As a matter of fact, you would be un-American, according to them, if you do not. And the last time I checked, our Israeli brothers and sisters are not here, and they're not white men. All right.